Good evening. As we begin our Western edition tonight, California is on fire and the worst is still to come. Major parts are under a state of emergency and historic wind-driven wildfires are threatening thousands of homes. This was the scene today in Rosemead, east of Los Angeles, where a new fire broke out today. It's one of more than 600 fires that have erupted in California the past 4 days. One of the biggest is in Sonoma County. The power company PG&E says it may have been sparked by a wire. More than 2 million people could lose their power.
We begin this morning with the growing wildfire danger in northern and southern California. In Sonoma and Lake counties north of San Francisco, hundreds of residents were forced to flee to safety late Friday as wind-driven flames burned through that dry terrain. With historic winds on the way, the state's largest utility company is considering another round of intentional power outages as a means of preventing the Kincade fire from spreading. In Southern California, firefighters have contained about 10% of the tick fire. Janet Shamlian is in Santa Clarita, about 35 miles north of Los Angeles. Janet, good morning.
The Mexican state of Sinaloa erupted into violence Thursday as police captured and then released the son of drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The failed raid has called into question the Mexican government's ability to contain drug violence. Nick Schifrin explores what this says about the capabilities of the United States' top ally in the fight against illegal narcotics.
The descent into chaos played out on social media. A phalanx of Mexican security forces deploy to a neighborhood controlled by the powerful, locally based drug cartel and capture their target, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, who now runs the family business built by his father, known as El Chapo, Mexico's most infamous drug lord, now in a
No, mi amor.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He was the founder and leader of ISIS, the most ruthless and violent terror organization anywhere in the world. The United States has been searching for Baghdadi for many years. Capturing or killing Baghdadi.
With the stunning headline that America woke up to, U.S. Special Forces in Syria taking down the ruthless leader of ISIS. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi founded the Islamic State and launched a global campaign of jihad. He was responsible for gruesome executions, including beheadings. The mission to get him was actually named after Kayla Mueller, an aid worker kidnapped and killed by ISIS. The operation took place in the dead of night in Syria and was monitored, as you can see here, in the White House Situation Room, the president right there. President Trump coming before cameras this morning in a rare Sunday address, calling it a great victory for America. The raid was also a strategic and political victory for the president. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz takes us inside the raid.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the world's most wanted and brutal terrorist, dead after a daring raid by the elite U.S. Delta Force.
He was the founder and leader of ISIS, the most ruthless and violent terror organization anywhere in the world.
5 p.m. Saturday night, President Trump, flanked by Vice President Pence, National Security Advisor O'Brien, and Defense Secretary Esper, gathering
something really out there. 3 more U.S. senators received a classified briefing about UFOs at the Pentagon, or in current lingo, unidentified aerial phenomena. You may have heard that pilots and other military personnel have been reporting these kinds of sightings for years. A couple weeks ago, the Department of Defense even released footage shot by a Navy Super Hornet pilot. But you may not have known that back in 2007, Congress directed the Pentagon to set up a $22 million search for the truth. And Tom Foreman is with me more on the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. So Tom, talk to me about these senators getting the classified briefings on UFOs.
Yeah, well, here's the interesting thing. It's easy to laugh at this, easy to think it's silly or it's just a bunch of hokum out there. But Senator Mark Warner, who is the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, said, look, I think it's important. He told us just this afternoon, I think it's important that the military is taking this more seriously now than they did in the past. So what are they taking seriously? Those videos you were talking about relate to a couple of different sightings we're talking about. In 2004, there was one called the Tic Tac sighting. They called it that because they said it looked like a Tic Tac flying out there very close to the water on the West Coast. And then more recently, there were some out on the East Coast that people were talking about, 2014, 2015, where these pilots were describing seeing these things up to 30,000 feet in the air, flying at extraordinary speeds, hypersonic, well over the speed of sound, changing direction in the most astonishing ways, and seemingly defying the laws of physics. Listen to what one of these pilots had to say.
No distinct wings, no distinct tail, no distinct exhaust. It seemed like they were aware of our presence because they would actively move around us.
So that's what has everyone excited here. These reports, the release of these videos, and you mentioned the program. That was originally started by Senator Harry Reid because they said, look, we just need to know what's going on. It only lasted about 5 years. It's been shut down for a number of years. And they said they really didn't find anything. But Brooke, you know, the obvious question here is there something out there? Not necessarily extraterrestrial, but is there something else? Some kind of a drone, some kind of secret technology, something that maybe we control, maybe we don't.
So, yeah, maybe they'll get to the bottom of that. I know that in April, the Navy actually issued guidelines for pilots to report any sightings of the unidentified aerial phenomena. Are you surprised this kind of information is now getting out to the public?
Well, I think it's been a long time in coming, Brooke. I mean, this is the sort of thing back early in my reporting career, some 30, 40 years ago, you would hear about. But at the time, it was just sort of released as a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists with a bunch of ideas out there and people taking pictures of an odd-shaped cloud in the sky. I'm not really surprised that we're finally getting to the point of looking at this more carefully, and particularly, Brooke, when you think about the technology we're dealing with today. We're dealing with technology that we really haven't seen before. Remember, when the first stealth fighters came out, there had been pictures of these things taken from very far by civilians saying there's some kind of strange aircraft out here that we've never seen before. Eventually, we found out what it was, but initially it was just a mystery. So I think for a lot of people who aren't looking for space aliens, this is still very interesting because they're saying, is it something, even if it's not space aliens, is it something that will make a difference in the future? And again, is it something that the U.S. is controlling, or is this some new technology that somebody else has developed?
30 seconds, Tom. What has President Trump said about this?
Developing tonight, a mystery boom that has people buzzing. Neighbors from Lavernia to Karnes City say they heard a loud explosion. Now everyone is speculating what it could have been. Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croy is trying to get some answers tonight.
People say it's mostly quiet here in Lavernia.
Well, I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Because you just don't hear that out here.
You don't hear that here. I mean, it's so peaceful.
But something has this small town talking.
All of a sudden, you hear this, and it just shatters all that calm.
Neighbors from Lavernia to Karnes City report hearing a loud boom.
We didn't expect it to happen. We were just sitting in the room, and then we just heard it. And then I started freaking out.
Sisters Bailey and Molly were home when they heard it.
I was terrified.
She jumped out her skin.
And so did their dog Yogi.
He was barking a lot.
Reports of houses shaking and windows fluttering heard all over town.
It opened our door. Our front door, yeah. It was crazy.
And we're like, well, maybe it is something.
And that something, that loud explosion-like sound, well,
I figured, well, okay, there's no terrorist attack, because why would they want to blow up Lavernia?
There's a lot of theories.
We heard that it was probably like a sonic boom from like an airplane or something.
So for now, the boom will remain a mystery.
Just a few weeks ago, the Navy admitted for the first time that several UFO videos were real, meaning they show actual area phenomenon that so far the Pentagon cannot explain. Now a UFO investigations group says they have found materials that could potentially be physical evidence of UFOs. Luis Elizondo is Director of Special Programs at the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. He also headed the Pentagon's Office for Investigating UFO Incidents, and it's the star of the History Channel's Unidentified. He joins us tonight. Luis, thanks so much for coming on. So, what is this material, and why could it shed light on the question of what UFOs might be?
Sure. Well, our company over the last year and a half has actually obtained quite a bit of material. And let me first preface by saying some of that material, its provenance is frankly hearsay, while other the provenance of some of this material has been substantiated. And ultimately, we're in the process of analyzing this material at 3 different levels. We're looking at its physical properties, its chemical, or if you will, molecular properties, and then ultimately its atomic properties. And it's really at that point we'll be able to make some sort of definitive conclusion, keeping in mind that we still have to follow the scientific process and